When the talk turns to peace and ending the Russian invasion of Ukraine, diplomats are focused on the surrender of land and power. No one mentions the animals victimized by war. I talk with a member of the rescue team on the front lines about her mission to save as many animals as she can. On the PETA podcast with Emil Guillermo. Welcome to the PETA podcast. I'm Emil Guillermo, your host for this inside look at animal rights, brought to you by PETA, the largest animal rights organization in the world. On this episode, my conversation with a young animal rights activist from Europe who for the last 2 years has been in Ukraine saving as many animals from the war. Here she describes what she sees in the Donbas region.
There was thousands of different huge large bones with still blood on it, still flesh, and then you go into another part of the farm, everywhere huge dead pigs, and just the whole area was full field of death, and also death horses, and the 3 other horses were running around these dead animals, and we looked at each other and we really saw that this is hell on earth.
Simone Eisenbeiss worked with Captain Paul Watson of Sea Shepherd fame, but in 2024 felt she had to go to Ukraine for the animals. But not just to work in a clinic or animal hospital. Eisenbeiss, just 26, goes into the combat areas, risking her life so she can save life. In our conversation, she talks about why she's compelled to be in Ukraine, where she finds the courage to deal with the real dangers of war. She describes what the war is like and how, amidst the drones, her team has a goal of rescuing 50 animals a day. Oh, and she does it all as a volunteer. My conversation with Simone Eisenbeiss on the PETA podcast.
I'm still doing campaigns with Paul Watson for saving the ocean. And, I've got this path from in West Africa when we needed to work with the West African military in order to protect the ocean from the illegal and unregulated fishing. I kind of got into this military theme through Paul. And now I really decided 2022 when war started that I really want to go and help animals, because I understand that at wartime people will forget about the animals. And somehow through PETA I found ARC, and I really decided to get in touch with them and then to really volunteer helping them directly at the front line.
Well, so you were working with Paul Watson in Switzerland, or you were in your home country, or you just traveled the world trying to do different actions with Captain Paul?
Yes, I traveled around the world with Paul. And we did different campaigns, as I said, in West Africa, or as well in the Faroese Island to stop the grind. And also in Iceland to stop the slaughtering of the fin whales. So, yeah.
And so you're really just an activist on call, ready to go.
Absolutely. Direct action is very, very important for me. And there are different approaches to help animals, like donations or coordinate different campaigns or call outs. And I'm really the one who wants to be at the front and help and use my hands to help the animals in situations.
And so you were in Switzerland. What were you doing in Switzerland before you got involved with Captain Paul's activities and saving animals?
Well, I wanted always to study veterinarian medicine, and I was next to it a self-taught artist. I just used it as a hobby. And, I realized that the whole studying in university vibe was not correctly for me. And because I saw that my art and my spirit and my belief to help animals was a bit suffering because I did not have any time for it. And then I really stopped focusing on having like a university direction. And I said to myself, I never know how long I will be able to live. I can have an accident tomorrow. And I really want to be active right now in the moment, because I really believe we can change the future in the moment. And the moment we can create so many good things. So I really let everything fall, just followed my art, tried to get money in, and just helping animals directly in the moment.
And so your work with the Sea Shepherd and Paul Watson led you to Ukraine. Tell me about that moment that when the war started, and it's been going on now since 2022.
Hmm.
When did it strike you that you had to do something? You had to go there.
It was directly when war started. It was I was in Gabon in West Africa on the ship on a mission. And it was quite a hard campaign because, COVID was still around and we couldn't dock. And when war started, and I was kind of like caught on the ship and I couldn't go out. And for me, because Slavic countries were always like deep in my heart. And I always said to myself when I was a child, I want to help either in Russia or in Ukraine or in Serbia to help dogs and cats on the street. And when this whole war started and I was on the campaign in West Africa, it really hit my heart deep. And I realized that my crew couldn't understand the deep level of pain I had for the animals, but also for the people. And I said to myself, I will not go home. I will finish this campaign, because I realized there will be a lot of people now to go and help. And when time is ready for me, there will be a sign, and then I will be going down to Ukraine. And yeah, nearly then 1.5 years later, I got a sign and I got a call, and I took this opportunity. And ARC was very welcoming me to helping them at the front line.
And that was in 2024.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm looking at a New York Times headline: War in Ukraine, February 25th, 2022. And that's when it was reported about, what had happened there. And so
Hmm.
from that day, it took you a year and a half, and now you're in Ukraine. And so tell me about what you do, or what you started to do in 2024 when you were there, and what you continue to do today.
So when I came directly to Ukraine and I was communicating to ARC that I really want to be the one who is helping and rescuing animals directly in combat zones. So I didn't want it to start easy to go like, helping in the shelters or in the clinic. As you know, like PETA really helped and fund to build this amazing ARC clinic, and is now also currently making this beautiful shelter. And I didn't want to work there because I know I can work very well under pressure and danger. And for me, it's like an important work to work in danger zone. And I know a lot of people are very afraid, and I understand this, but for me, it's kind of like a call. So I told ARC that I want to be with them directly in red zones to get the animals out there. And it's interesting because when I look back to when I started until now, situation changed drastically. Like modern warfare changed very, very fast. And for us, it's a huge risk. Like I can tell, like with each week, situation got worse and worse. And it's really about the new technology you can like observe. A lot of people have the imagination war is with big tanks and, soldiers in their trenches. And of course, that's still a part. But right now we have a drone war, and it got more and more modern. And It's interesting nowadays. You barely see any tanks because they're very slow and the drones spot them very fast. And I can see a change in November 2024, nearly now a year ago, where situations started to change. The technology got more and more, and we have defense mechanism for the drones, like jammers or also like detectors that got more like they started to have a revolution with this. But interesting wise, both sides start to like reinvent new technologies, and the front line is started to expand like the gray zone, because you cannot even be safe 20 kilometers now to the front line, and even 15 or then 8, because the drone controls all the roads.
Yeah.
And they hit all targets. For us, it's a huge risk right now, but we still go there because the animals, they still need our help. There are so many animals out there who are sick, who are injured by all this drone and by all these like heavy fires.
Yeah, you know what's incredible is that you told people you didn't want to work at the clinic, you didn't want to work, inside where it was safe. You wanted to go where it was dangerous, and that is
Mhm.
something that a lot of people would say, "Oh my God, how do you get the courage? How do you get the bravery to do that?" Because a lot of people say, "Look, I'll go there and I'll do paperwork and I'll make sure that things are well managed." But you wanted to go take direct action and be out there in the front lines. That takes courage.
Thank you. Yes, I mean, I think all part is very important. Even like the aftercare for the animals at the clinic and all these people who take care of them, they're also very, very needed. I understand that a lot of people, they see this courage, but also they might think, why is a young woman doing this? She could have a beautiful life in Switzerland without any risks, or I can easily get injured or losing an arm or a leg, but I'm still out there and doing it. And it's, for me, it's really, really the belief that for myself and my heart and my reality, I saw so many situations in war where animals are so loyal to us humans, and we just leave them there in like destroyed and like ruined areas, and they wait for us, like they wait for their owners, and they even go through death for them. Because I realized that some animals, they wait in front of their ruined house, skin and bone, until they will die. But they when I see this, it breaks my heart, and I really don't want to be a human for an animal, that they lose the hope and the trust in humanity. So I want to give them the hope again, that they still can believe in us humans.
Yeah, and so you are doing this because of this great empathy for the animals. And when you got there, I guess you first got there in 2024, and I guess it continues. Do you say the technology has changed with the war? But you do for what do you tell me? Describe what you find. Tell me about the animals. Do you see these emaciated animals waiting for their companions to come back, or what are they doing? What do you do when you see them?
Oh, that's a good question. That we have a lot of different animals we rescue. When it can be cows, sheeps, mostly dogs and cats because of the owners that call us. But we also have a lot of other animals, and that's the beauty in our work, that we don't that we don't say we just go for cats and dogs, um because all life matters. And when we enter these critical zones, when we enter the combat field, the animals, they're mostly very, very disturbed and very traumatized. And it's not easy sometimes to really get those animals out, because they can be aggressive, very, very anxious, or even, as I said, injured, or very like sick. And it's just crazy to see this mess, to see this chaos, which the animal kingdom have in war, because you really see there is no order, and this bad energy that is living there has a big impact on the animal. But as I always say, like these animals, they wait for their owners. They really go back to the house, even the house is a ruin. And
Yeah, the house
oh,
is ruined, and they go back and they say they wait,
yes.
and
Hmm.
and then when they see you, do they think you're their companion, or do they think you're the enemy? What how do they respond to you?
It's different. Sometimes they really run to us. They really feel we will rescue them, or we will bring them to a safe place, or they just need to have like human contact. And some of them are waiting on the street even. And other dogs, they are more afraid, more aggressive, or all other animals. And that's just because of the war dynamic, and also because we also had a dog, or we also have several animals that are waiting and hiding in ruined and shelled areas, and they are so disturbed from what is going on. And yeah, so
I mean,
it's
when you get to them, do they attack you, or how do you calm them down?
we don't attack, like they don't attack us, but we just stay calm in the moment. And it's a very important tool you have in yourself. If you have like any dangerous situation with an animal, that you stay calm in yourself, because animals feel you. And in these situations, when we cannot take an animal on the leash, we use like a hard stick, or we use sedativum. And a lot of people sometimes don't understand, when we are under attack or under drone fire. Sometimes we cannot take animal very gentle out of a situation, because we both will die. So sometimes when you see videos from rescuers at the front line, they sometimes take animals like more roughly, but it's because it's a dangerous situation, and people need to understand we both need to be able to go out there alive. And sometimes everything needs to be 10 times faster as in a normal situation.
Yeah, how many animals a day do you find, and how do you know? Do you just go and they're there, or does someone tip you off and say, "Here's an area where you might find animals"? And when you go there, how many do you usually find?
When we go on evacuation, for example, one or for few times in a week, like let's say we go today on evacuation, then we really have a plan and points for people that needed to escape from danger zone, that still have animals at home, or military that calls us, that they say, hey, there is an abandoned farm, a farmer left, we have 3 horses there left. So it's all about coordination and planning with the hotline from ARC. And then we have like a bunch of points we go through, and we go and try to evacuate these animals to bring them either back to their owners or find them then a new home. And when we do these evacuations, we also find all sorts of animals still on the ground, and like, near us, or injured animals. And it's all about like, coordination, and then really go to like the combat zone, and then see the situation. And we try to get at least 50 animals back a day. Yeah,
50 a
yeah,
day.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And when we go out in one week, we try to go out 3 to 4 times, and really try to get over 200 animals. And we are really, really like focused on this. It's a hard work. You don't have a lot of sleep, because one evacuation can last from 6 a.m. in the morning to the next day 3 a.m. in the morning. So it's a tough work, because the distances to Donbass also is like long. So you have to drive several like kilometers.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I saw on the map where you are staying as you go to Donbass, and that's really the war region that
Hmm.
that Ukraine is protecting and trying to win back. And it's unclear where we are now in the war, who has what, and we know that Russia wants Donbass, but who wants the animals? What happens to the animals? And you're finding them abandoned, essentially. Huh?
Exactly. That's always when I say that truth dies in war. And also, we as a human species, we always say, I mean, of course, war is the worst thing in the world, but we always say humans first. And we really easily forget about the animals. But when you see the suffering of the animals as well, and also like the way they respond if you bring them back to the owners or if you give them a new life, you can really change one individual's life to the better. And I think sometimes when people really want to act to change the world, which is nearly impossible because it takes time, I always say you can always change a lot of worlds for individuals if you really be kind to them and give them a new life. And for every rescued soul, it's worth it to take this risk.
Yeah, and you said that you get maybe on one individual rescue or evacuation, you try to get 200 animals over the course of a couple of days. Is that how long an evacuation takes?
Uh, yes. So, as I said, like evacuations can be more than 24 hours long. But we always plan, for example, we go on Monday, then Tuesday we are off, try to sleep a bit, and then the next day again, and then again off. Or then we also go several days in a row to Donbass, for example, and stay in Donbass overnight and, pick them more animals up and then drive back to Kharkiv, bring them to our clinic. And yeah, it's a huge system around it.
Yeah, and you've got horses and cows, other large
hmm
animals. The tell me the worst situation that you've seen so far in the year and a half that you've been out there.
The worst situation was last December when military called us and they said at their position, I think it was around 200 meters away from the active killing zone. Um, they called us and said they had an abandoned farm, and I think there were over thousand of different kind of animals hold there for flesh, like chicken, pigs, horses, cows, and they called us and they said, "Hey, we are here in this fighting area. Drones are everywhere. We have mines everywhere. But there are three horses still alive, very, very thin, but they always run back to the farm trying to see the owner or try to get food. And they ask for help. So it was really a dangerous evacuation. And when we went there, um, it was just pure horror because everywhere where you go, there were dead animals around, like really dead chickens and dead pigs that were like ripped apart from the dogs, which were still alive. And in order, we all also wanted to take these 8 dogs out. And in order to take these dogs, you really needed to go around this whole farm. And, we were under attack. There was a drone attack even on that building then. And, when you just enter this field, there was thousands of different huge large bones with still blood on it, still flesh, and then you go into another part of the farm, everywhere huge dead pigs, and just the whole area was full field of death and also death horses, and the three other horses were running around these dead animals. And we looked at each other and we really saw that this is hell on earth. And one guy came to us and he said he checked the whole farm and this man took everything, that his tools, his TV, but he left his animals behind and he didn't even call anyone to rescue them. And of course, we managed with two missions to drive down to rescue these three horses, but they were very, very traumatized, very afraid. And especially horses, they are very sensitive. And yeah, we drove out at night, which is even then more dangerous because of the drones. But we were able to manage to rescue them. And beautiful things, we don't give up even in these situations. But it also takes time then to really process such horrible pictures.
Yeah, I mean, how were you impacted emotionally just walking amidst all the bodies that were
Mhm.
strewn in the fields, and the description you gave was very very detailed. How were you handling that?
Well, you know, it's interesting when you enter the gray zone, when you enter the red zone, the combat zone, your emotional state start to switch. When you're there and when you enter, you forget about everything. You forget about, yourself, your emotions, and it's really all about focus to stay alive. And it's very important to sometimes not be in connection with your emotions while you work, because also if you start to be afraid, fear will kill you. And if you can be very calm in fearful and dangerous situations where you can die, you can manage a situation very well. And of course, I've learned this on the ships, but of course, I've learned this even more with Ruslan on the evacuations. And of course, the after process is important when you drive out and when you talk about these situations, but it's important to not let things go too deeply to you. And you have to realize that war is one of the most brutal thing you can witness, and you see a lot of stuff that you should never be able to see. And we also had like so many other situations, even with shelled people, with dying people in front of us, that are the reality of war. And you took this risk to go there. You need to be aware that you have to sacrifice your own mental health and mental peace for this work.
Well,
That's
you
very
you
important.
did choose it. Excuse me,
Mhm.
there, but you did choose it. And did you ever find yourself questioning why? Like, okay, I saved a couple chickens and a couple dogs previous week. I've had it. I gotta now protect myself and go. Or do you say there are more out there? The work continues. I have to stay and continue the job.
Absolutely second. I stay there, I go there, and I help as long and as much as I can. Because once you start such a job, you cannot stop, because you really see purpose and you really see the outcome, what you're able to achieve, but also what you're able to do in other people. Like, I'm a normal person like everyone else, and I have the same strength like everyone else. And my work can do so many other people, and I think I can motivate others to believe in themselves, to really go out and help for the better or help for the animals. And it's really beautiful to see that a lot of people are opening up and really say, "Hey, we also want to help." And for me, that's really beautiful to see this whole work for animals more as a movement than anything else. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, you went there by yourself, or were you with a team, or did you meet other people there when you joined ARC?
no, I went I went alone directly.
Oh, you
It
went
was a
alone.
bit,
Yeah.
yes, yes. Yeah, I mean, I said before, I'm not a fearful person. I have a lot of respect, but not I'm not afraid. And of course, for my family, it's harder when her daughter with 25 goes alone to a new country, travel in a war zone, which she never was. And yeah, I think you can just learn from the world, from every different situation.
Well, that's a question. What? where do you learn to avoid or to deal with the fear? How do you summon the courage to go out and do that every day? I mean, they give you a day or two to rest up and get some sleep, but how do you manage to find the courage to do the work you have to do?
It's a very, very important question. I think that maybe some people are born with it, with more fear, and some people are less, or some people have less. Because, like, for example, we had a situation on the ship where I was sucked into the bow thruster of our huge ship in summer 2023, and I was on the jet skis, wanted to defend the pilot whales. And for me or for other people, this would cause immediate death because it's like a huge propeller of a ship. And in that moment, I was very calm and I knew in my head, stay calm. And when the tide gets out, just drive out. And it's about milliseconds. And I did it. And then afterwards, of course, my rage came a bit up and I said, hey, what are you guys doing? You need to be more careful with how you launch people. But in the moment, I realized I can be very calm and focused, and there was no fear. And then I realized, okay, maybe it will help me in the combat zones. And, the more you go out there, the more you learn how to cope with it, the more you learn how to use your brain, use the dynamics to understand, okay, do I have to be afraid now? Or do I have to, or can I calm down? Is it a Russian drone? Is it a Ukrainian drone? Is it dangerous for us, or also artillery? How far are they? Are they close? Do they come closer? How is the whole drone and artillery system working? Do we have to move now? So you need to learn the dynamics of war in order to stay alive and in order to have less fear. And as I said, that fear is not something that stops me from doing it. And I cannot really tell you how I cope with my fear, but the mission for me is more important than being afraid what can happen.
Yeah, what's incredible as you describe the war situation, I imagine you must have a helmet or some kind of. Do you have a like some kind of bulletproof vest, or are you just totally unarmed out there? How do you have a uniform at all, or something that says, "I'm here for the animals. I'm not Russia. I'm not Ukraine. I'm here for the animals." Anything identifying you in that way?
Well, so that's very important key. I am out there for the animals. I have no politics, I have no borders, etc. It's really about life. The mission is about life. And of course, we need protection as well. We need helmet, we need vests, bulletproof vests, because it's not even just about getting hit by any artillery or any like shoot, for example. It's also about the shrapnels from the drone when they hit cars. I mean, survival level is like zero because of the pressure and because of they're very deadly, very, very dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, so
Yeah.
you're out there. You got a helmet. You got vest. You're unarmed though. If
Oh,
someone,
yes.
yeah,
We are unarmed. Yes, unarmed, definitely. Our we always say our weapon is our leash because we are out there to save life. And yeah, we just have the protection for our body, but we don't go with any weapon out there.
yeah, and we talk about the danger. It's real and the need for courage. But recently, a rescuer was killed during a shelling. We're talking about a rescuer named Tatiana.
Hmm.
How did that affect you when you heard about her being killed?
Well, when I always hear this, it's very unfortunate, and I feel very sad that war took another great soul's life away from this earth who did so much. But it's still for me. it does not affect me that it's a sign for me to end this work in order to stay alive. And I still continue and going. And of course, a lot of people will say, my goodness, she's playing with her life. She could have such a great life. But if you know, I know that everyone has its own reality, everyone has its own shaped beliefs in this world. And mine is maybe just different. Mine is the way I build it. And I really continue. There is no doubt I will stop. Of course, if I will get injured or if I die, that's another situation. But as long as I can, I will go out there and help. But we are very careful with, um, look at the war dynamic, talk to the people, how the situation is, how dangerous is it to drive in there. And we have to develop in this war in order to stay alive. We cannot just say, oh, we are rescuers, we have special rights, we go in there now and rescue, nothing can happen to us. No, 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 you really have to read war. You really have to read this new type of dynamic, and you have to stay updated in order to be kind of like a ghost into this whole war house. You're kind of like in a tunnel looking for life, and you have to adapt. That's very important. Brain is more effective than armor and safety gear at the front line.
Yeah. Tell me, do you uh, turn to your art, or do you meditate when you or have the downtime, when you get away and you are able to take animals out and put them in safe places
Hmm.
at the clinic and where you're based? How do you deal with the aftermath? Do you kind of do you take time for yourself, meditation maybe, or your art that is one of your gifts?
Definitely, first place is my art. Art for me is my therapy, and it really speaks for itself. And I did it since I'm a child, and it kept me alive. Art is really my pole, which no one can take away from me. And the expression from my emotions, from the world, from the suffering from the animals, but also the beauty. I really captured everything in my art. And also, if there is space, I still take care of myself, like with sport, kickboxing or yoga, meditation, as you said, because I always say that you are kind of like first in order to help others and never really forget yourself in order to continue. And that's very important, that this has nothing to do with ego. It's really taking care of yourself will provide you to continue helping so many others.
Well, tell me, you mentioned kickboxing, which is kind of interesting, but the art is also interesting. Maybe you can send us a photograph of some of the things. Are you drawing, or what is it, painting, or what kind? Describe your art.
My art is well, it's my baby. As I said, I started developing my own style when I was a child, and it's a surrealistic style with animals, and it's kind of like I present my animals in a soul way, how I see them inside, but also how I want to give messages into my art. And they're very colorful. And the eyes are always centered, because for me, it's the gate to really the inner of the animal. And I try to tell stories with them. And they're very, very, very bizarre sometimes, surrealistic, as
Well,
like
yeah.
ghostly figures.
Well, maybe you can take a photograph of one or two and email them to us.
Yes,
Yeah,
I would love to.
and then we'll put it up with the podcast. It's been really interesting talking to you about the. We were talking about an example. You mentioned the horses and in that big farm. Is or are there other rescues that stand out in your mind? Close calls, or one where it was a confirmation that this or an affirmation that this is, I suppose, because it's so dangerous and risky, your life can end. I suppose this is the definition of one's life's work.
We had one, but it contained we needed to rescue humans in that situation. And it was in February that really it hit me hard. Let's say it like this. This was one evacuation that hit me very hard because it really shook me a bit and woke me up that, hey, you can die. And it was in February in Pokrovsk when we wanted to evacuate a lot of animals. And then we came across a screaming crowd of around 5 people, and they were screaming very badly. And then we were like, okay, let's stop the car. Let's go and see what is going on. And then I looked to the right and I saw this lady in the car. Above was a drone strike on her car. The drone hit her up her car ceiling. Everything was destroyed, and this woman was laying in her car. And I understood this woman is dead. But her hand was moving. And then, I saw that she had really, really horrible head traumas, and her inside from her head came out, and she was still moving her head, and I realized she's in the process of dying, and we cannot help her. And I moved on to the next people. They were heavily injured by shrapnels of the drones and huge holes, like really, really bloody content. And it was very graphic. And we tried to help these people and evacuate these people. And I don't want to go now into details, but that moment, we see a lot of death. But the moment you see an individual like this lady with her open head dying and still is in the process of dying, make you realize this situation should not even be happening. It's man-made, made by a little drone with explosive, hitting some civilians and killing them. And, it's horrible, and it changes something in you when you see this. And then, I mean, you see videos, you see it online, but when you see it face to face and you realize, my goodness, it's real and our body is so sensitive, we can die immediately. It really does change something in you. And all you can really do in such a moment is helping the casualties that needed to be evacuated and do your best.
And yet,
But yeah.
And yet, when you see this, you don't go. You don't go home to your home country. You decide to stay.
Yes.
When will you say enough? I've done my share, and now I can go home.
I don't think that this will happen until war still continues. And I don't want to force, or I don't want to, push it that something happens to me that I have to say, okay, I'm injured, I cannot work anymore. No, I will be careful in the future even more, thinking twice to go, of course. But I will not stop helping. And I really hope that someday this war will end, that at least animals and people, they have a break from this suffering. And, I cannot predict the future. I cannot say, okay, where will I be in the future? I know that, for example, in like next February, I go with Paul Watson in Antarctica against the krill fishing. and have a break with this a bit. But I will come back to Ukraine to help these animals here because ARC has a very special place in my heart.
Yeah. And what would you want our listeners from around the world to know about what you are doing and what ARC is doing to save the
Mm-hmm.
animals in Ukraine? What do people need to know? You've been very descriptive and very
Mm-hmm.
about things that are happening outside and both also inside. You know, as you see these things on that are happening around you. But
Mm-hmm.
what would you want to let our listeners from around the world know about what's happening now and what they can do?
I would really give to the listeners that every thought and every hope counts in this war, and the support is very important, for the animals. It's really the the message for life. And it doesn't matter if it's at the war or if it's at another place. It's really, we are all one. We're a collective, and it's about life. And what people maybe need to understand, we have a very small part with our rescue, with our evacuation. Yes, maybe it's the most dangerous one, but all these animals, all these souls, they need medical treatment afterwards because they're sick, they're injured, but also they need a new home. They need to be rehomed. And I really hope that people maybe have a more deeper look on this, helping to, provide medicine, to provide food, or to provide, help to have a new home for these animals because they really need love. They sometimes wait in shelters with their traumas. They just want to be loved, like as we humans do. And I really hope that people try to understand or can understand that these animals, they need very special care and love. And it's really beautiful when you can give a war animal such pure love. They will change drastically. And I really hope that every animal get this love which they deserved.
You know, you talk about the trauma of the animals. Have you thought about the trauma that must be, or I don't know, is it happening within you?
Um, it's a very good question. You have to understand, I worked with my inner self since I'm a teenager, very, very much with my art. And, I also went through a few different therapies to understand the world, to understand myself better. And, it's a growth process within you. And I think the world can give the tools for you and situation that you grow within yourself. And I'm sure, like everyone who face war, who face attacks of drones, of artillery, of bombs, of aerial bombs, of course we have all kind of post-traumatic stress disorders. And I definitely take care of myself once I have a break of war, or once war will end. I definitely take care of this because even as we had these civilians which died in front of us, I took trauma therapies for 3 times, and it really helps me. And you know, people need to calm and really realize that it's a tool and a help for yourself. You don't have to play the strong one when you live in a world which is just pure cruel. So it's the best thing is to be just honest with yourself in order to heal from any kind of trauma.
Well, it's good to know that you're taking care of yourself, Simone. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about this. I thank you for your time and being part of the PETA podcast.
Thank you so much. And, all my appreciation also to Peter for all your help for us. And it's really, without you, we couldn't continue this work. And from my bottom of my heart, really, thank you so, so much. And also for having me.
Oh well, we'll be thinking of you when we, you know, there's so much happening now in terms of, you know, the diplomats are meeting, trying to find a way to end the war. They don't think about the animals much, but they're trying to end the war. And now people can think not just about the animals, but the people who are trying to rescue them, like you and the other members of ARC. Simone Eisenbeiss, thank you very much for being part of the PETA podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
Simone Eisenbeiss volunteers for ARC, an agency that works with PETA to help save animals in Ukraine. And all that work is made possible by your donation to PETA's Global Compassion Fund. To fund the work to rescue animals in Ukraine, go to PETA.org. And that's our show for today. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to send a link of this show to your friends. Tell them you like the PETA podcast. Contact us at PETA.org. You can find me on X or Twitter at Emil Amok, that's EMILAMOK, or see me at AMOK.com. Or find this podcast on YouTube at Emil Amok 1. Once again, thank you for listening. Check out all our episodes on your favorite podcast app or on Apple Podcasts, where you can subscribe to as well as rate and review the show. It helps get the word out about the issues you care about. You can also check out all our episodes on really any podcast player, but I noticed that, and these guys don't advertise, but Castbox is one that plays every episode we've ever done completely to number one. Check out Castbox. Hey, our music is provided by Carbonworks. Check them out on YouTube. And join us again next time for more insight into animal rights and the fight for a cruelty-free world on the PETA Podcast. I'm Emil Guillermo.